using their spare limbs.
Exactly.
I'm assuming, that might make an ass out of you. I mean, I'm pretty sure the Bay Area stats.
Well, what happens when you say, I presume? Then you make
presume instead of assume?
Yeah. Welcome to the Best of Investing. I'm Edward Brown, your host. Here's our format. A bunch of guys sitting around a bar. There's no bar. Having drinks. There's no drinks either. But we're talking business, and you, the audience, are listening in. The Best of Investing is actually a radio show that has been around since August 2010, and it airs every Saturday on Fox News Radio, 9:10 a.m. at 1 p.m. Now, we're not a political show. We're strictly business, so everyone will be happy with that. Remember, I'm Edward Brown, wishing you the best of investing. Are you ready? Let's go. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Mark Hanf of Pacific Private Money, California's fastest growing private lender, and we're going to get into that in just a minute. And Robert Schiff of RPM Mortgage, we're going to get into that in just a minute. The question, what group sang the song Walk Like an Egyptian?
Bengals.
The Bengals, very good.
The only reason I remember that is because they had some hot chicks.
That is true. You can always remember because of that.
Okay. At least they were hot in '86.
Yeah, that's 20, how much, 26 years ago?
Too many years ago.
Too many years ago. Okay, in fact, Walk Like an Egyptian, they were there at the time when that was going on. Okay, Robert, question for you from a listener here. It says, what differentiates you from other mortgage brokers? In other words, why are you the man?
There are many ways to answer that, but RPM Mortgage is not just a broker. We're a combination of a mortgage bank and a broker, so that RPM is big enough that they can fund most of the loans they do themselves. At the same time, if for whatever reason there's an independent bank other than us that has a better deal for that specific person, then we can go there. So I have the benefit for my clients of being able to broker out loans to big banks or credit unions or obscure mortgage banks that you've probably never heard of.
So is that what happens? Like someone comes to you for a loan, and the first thing you do is you find out what RPM is quoting, and then you also compare it to other companies?
Well, the first thing I'll do is have a long conversation with them, trying to ascertain what it is they're trying to accomplish. But once I get a grasp of what the parameters of the loan are, then I will research and see what our bank has to offer, and look at all the other places that we deal with and find out what's the best deal that I'm going to get those people.
Sure, because some people are only going to want a loan for short term, or they can only afford so much, so they need an ARM. Of course, nowadays ARMs are probably about not too far different from fixed mortgages, aren't they?
Well, but I was just talking to someone today at the title company. They said they're doing quite a few ARMs in the upper scale loans, like $1 or $2 million. They had somebody getting a 10-year ARM at like 2.5%. So,
sold.
Yes, unbelievable.
Well,
so a lot of people since the last few years, some of the brokerages have closed. The big banks, Wells Fargo or B of A, took on a large percentage of the market, but and I suggest clients to maybe check out with their local bank too, but most of the times they have one product to offer, and we can go to many different sources. So we usually can find something in each particular case that's probably better than they can get at their one individual
Yeah, I mean,
bank.
it doesn't hurt them to do some shopping around.
Absolutely.
Okay,
yes.
that's what I like about Robert, is that he's really honest. He doesn't say, "Oh no, don't talk to those banks. Just come to me." You welcome it.
I'm in it for the long haul, so you need satisfied clients.
Right, and there's been such a consolidation in this industry, and one of the great things about RPM is that you guys have become really industry leaders outside of the big banks, and I don't know about you, but I don't want to walk into, or when I walk into Wells Fargo or B of A and I see these young fresh-faced kids sitting behind the desk, I don't know that person's necessarily a quote mortgage expert who's got years and years of experience like you do.
He has it on his card. It must be.
Yeah. Days of experience.
Yeah, the ink may still be wet, but it's on that card.
Mark, we have an email question here for you. This guy sounds like he's probably more of an experienced investor, I'm guessing, because it says, I have tried to find deals on my own, but I'm having a hard time. How do you get such good deals?
And we're what's known as a hard money lender, some call us a private money lender, and we make loans to real estate investors because the banks pretty much have stopped doing that the last several years. They're focused on doing consumer home loans, and we make loans to real estate investors who are generally buying real estate to fix and flip or to hold for investment purposes. And the source of the money, we're not a bank. We use private individual capital to fund those loans. And so, at the beginning of the show, Edward mentioned that we're one of the fastest growing private lenders. We're also one of the fastest growing resources for people who have self-directed IRAs and are looking to invest in alternative, higher yielding type of investments. And so we provide what's known in the investment industry as trust deed investment opportunities for people with savings who are looking to achieve higher yields. And what do I mean when I say higher yields? Well, I mean 8% or more annualized return on your investments on these trust deed secured notes. So we originate a loan to a real estate investor. It's secured by local property here in the Bay Area. It's a conservative loan to value, generally no higher than 65 or 70% of today's value of that property. And the investor who funds that loan receives an interest rate, fixed annual rate for 1, 2, or 3 years, anywhere from 8 to 10% is the typical range. So that's the backdrop. Robert?
Yeah, I have a question, and some people have asked me, well, I don't think I can invest in that in my IRA, and you said the keyword self-directed IRA, so maybe you should let people know what a self-directed IRA is and how they can take their IRA and become a self-directed IRA so they could utilize this kind of investing and talk to you about it.
Well, and that's very, very important. And most of us have IRAs of some form or fashion, or 401ks, and generally the bulk of them are held by investment houses like, and I'm just going to throw out some names, they may be with a bank, they might be with Merrill Lynch or Schwab accounts, but those you can self-direct in quotes. Your broker there will tell you, well, you can choose any stock you want. But true self-direction is you can invest in stocks, you can invest in bonds or mutual funds, but you could also invest in real estate or real estate secured notes or jewelry or gold or whatever, or even businesses. There's a lot of things you can invest in with a self-directed account, and the challenge is that Schwab and Merrill and the other investment houses, they're not set up to deal with that type of self-direction.
Well, they also don't want it because it takes money away from their
core business of selling securities, right?
So if people are listening, or people talk to me and say, "Well, that's a great idea, but I went and I found that I can't invest in that kind of investment in my IRA." So what are you talking about? How would I suggest to those people or people that are listening to find out about making their IRA become a self-directed IRA?
So if you Google self-directed IRA, what's going to come up on page 1 of Google are all the companies that specialize in hosting your self-directed IRA. They're called IRA custodians. IRA custodians. And so, for example, in the Bay Area, we've got several companies that are IRA custodians. And for example, IRA Services is one, AccuPlan is another, Entrust is another. There's a dozen more, Pensco, sure. And I have clients who utilize all of those different IRA custodians, and they are specifically, their business model is they're set up to take your money, and it is insured. They are regulated, and you open up an account with them, and you can roll over your monies from another 401k or another IRA into that, and there's no tax consequence for that. And you can then take those monies once it's been transferred and opened up, and then you can start investing in alternative investments such as trust deed secured notes for higher interest.
But by doing that, you don't lose any of the advantages you had before, except if you're at Schwab, you don't get the advice of a Schwab accountant.
That's exactly right. You don't lose the advantages. So, for example, Roth IRAs are extremely popular. That's one form of a self-directed IRA, and a lot of folks will have a Roth IRA. self-directed Roth IRA in addition to other IRAs they have, and they'll use that for tax-free growth.
Yeah, you know, I want to make a point here because the listener was asking about finding deals on his own compared to like how you do it, and the two of you are here. So I think it's kind of interesting because I'm kind of guessing that sometimes people will come to you, Robert, for a loan, maybe not for their own personal house, for investment
on
property.
both sides. I mean, I may get a client and I'm looking at it, and they have all this money sitting there at, you know, hopefully 0.5%, and I, you know, depending on their age and what I sense about them, I might bring up especially because I know Mark and know how trustworthy and honorable he is.
But the other part of it too is
so
it
comes on both sides.
But yeah, because people might come to you for a loan, and if they can get a loan from you at 3%, obviously that's what's best for them. But if they can't qualify with you, then you can turn it over to Mark, and Mark can potentially
absolutely. I mean, people.
And that's one of the reasons why you get good deals.
People find or want to buy a house, and there are benefits to it, and they come to me, and I say, well, no, you can't really do that now by the criteria. But let's look at a 2-year plan. You can go, and it probably is worthwhile to do this, especially now the way rates are low and the real estate prices are low. Go to Mark or go to a private money lender and make sure you buy that property at today's prices, and then over the next year or two you can accumulate some equity and have your finances solidify in a way that you'll be able to get out and get normal financing.
Excellent. Okay, we are going to cut to our third commercial break. Here's the trivia question. And again, it's Billboard #1 hits of 1986. Were you even born then, Robert?
I was going deaf by then.
Okay, going deaf by then. Okay, who sang "Addicted to Love"? And here's the hint: the backup girls, they all kind of looked alike. Mark, audience, I wish you could see this. The video, yeah, very good, very good. Answer this question. Who sang "Addicted to Love"? And if you can dance like Mark, then you automatically win. Okay, because all the backup girls kind of looked alike, and they danced a certain way.
Androgynous.
Yeah, that's right. Again, don't touch that dial because we're going to get into some other economic issues here on The Best of Investing. We'll be right back.
The androgynous zone.
That's right.
The cameraman was dancing also there.
Was he dancing? Do you remember that song? Yeah, he's just swaying back and forth.
That doesn't consider.
Or maybe Charles.
I know those.
Yeah, that's
I don't know if that qualifies as dancing.
No,
Yeah, right.
That's Elaine Bettis dancing.
Elaine Bettis. Yeah. On Seinfeld.
Yeah, that was very good.
Elaine. Oh, remember this? Remember the thumbs? I'm a good dancer, right? Welcome back to The Best of Investing. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Mark Hoff of Pacific Private Money and Robert Schiff of RPM Mortgage. When we cut to the third and final trivia question, commercial break, we asked the song, who sang "Addicted to Love" and had backup sing girls who all looked alike? Okay, Mark, start dancing for us.
Robert Palmer.
Robert Palmer, very good. All right, now, Mark, when we cut to break, you were letting us know that there's a few more things you wanted to add.
Well, you asked him a question and we got sidetracked and never answered it.
I never answered the listener's question, which was, I've tried to find investments on my own was the question, and how do you find your investments? And so I want to just real briefly talk about that there are people who are looking on their own for trust deed investments. Maybe they're doing private lending on their own. They might be lending money to borrowers on their own and just using a title company. There are people out there doing it. My suggestion is don't. With all of the regulations that have been passed in the last couple of years, first of all, you're exposing yourself to usury issues if you charge more than 10%. A lot of people that are privately lending on their own are in fact exposing themselves to that.
And there's so many new regulations.
Oh yeah,
so
if they charge 9%, but they charge points, you're still over the 10%.
And they'll find out if they made some little mistake, and the people could get a lawyer and find out they made a mistake. They may totally lose their investment. The clients could come back and say, since you did it wrong, we no longer owe you the money. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much they can get away from paying.
No, the penalty for doing it wrong is that you forfeit all the interest if you do this wrong and you do this on your own, and you really want to use an experienced and reputable hard money loan broker who's a licensed California real estate broker to invest in trust deeds, because those of us in this business who are doing it correctly today, we have to attend an awful lot of classes and are members of the California Association of Hard Money Lenders.
Even I've had people come to me and their family wanted to lend them money to help buy a place, or it wasn't a gift, it was a loan. And I suggest all the time, instead of trying to fabricate the paperwork or even just go to a title company, you should go to someone who's going to make sure that it's
go to
done
a private loan broker and have it done correctly.
And nobody knows it better than somebody like Mark.
Exactly.
It is a regulated industry. The good news is that you can get a fabulous interest rate on your savings if you make trust deed secured loans on local property here. But if you don't use the services of a professional like Pacific Private Money, you can find yourself in trouble.
Yeah, absolutely. But guys, we only have like another minute and a half to go. Talk a little bit about the fiscal cliff and what else is going on there?
Well, we were talking about actually before we came back on about the real estate. The real estate news seems, it's great. You know, the prices are up 10%, and we're in a recovering market. And Robert, you brought up a good point.
Yeah, we're recovering, and there are multiple offers, and things are being sold for more than the asking price. But how can that go in line with that 25 to 30% of the people who own homes nationwide are underwater?
And with the storms we've had, I think most houses are underwater.
Yes, yeah, if not blown away.
Well, that's exactly right.
I think there's part of the news is trying to pump itself up and pump the market up and make people feel more anxious about jumping in and buying, talk it up.
Sure.
But there is reality, too, that although so many people are underwater, that in certain geographic areas, the market is really strong. In the Bay Area, San Francisco and its surrounds, there wasn't that much of a drop-off from the height, and there's certainly been a quicker recovery. So.
Okay. And remember, it's height, not height.
It is height.
Yeah. There is no such word as height. Guys, we're going to have to cut out here. So here are our thoughts for the day. Until coffee gained popularity, the beverage of choice for breakfast in most urban areas of the U.S. was beer.
Oh.
What?
Now that's what I'm talking about. Yeah. I want to visit those places. And I don't know if the listeners know this, but I'm financially set for life, providing I die within a week. Yeah. And with that encouraging news, we're going to invite you to tune in next week to The Best of Investing. We're going to be giving away 9 more free vacations for answering trivia questions. And next week's guest is going to be Ronnie Moore, who's going to discuss what never to say to contractors or car salesmen. That ought to be pretty interesting. You're going to not want to miss this show next week. Thanks for listening. On behalf of our team, I'm Edward Brown, wishing you the best of investing. So long.
Easy peasy.
Okay, and away we go. Welcome. You're listening to The Best of Investing on News Talk 910. This is the show where we present valuable information about real estate, the financial markets, and other economic business of the day. And for those of you listening for the first time, here's our format. Imagine, if you will, a few guys sitting around a bar having drinks, talking business with you, the audience listening in. I'm your host, Edward Brown, and I'm pleased to have as my co-host Mark Hanf of Pacific Private Money, California's fastest growing private lender. And today's trivia theme is scientists. Our website is bestofinvesting.com. Check us out on Facebook and YouTube by typing Best of Investing Radio Show. We're also on television, Comcast Channel 26, on Saturdays at noon and Sundays at 6 p.m. Now, today's special guest is Lizandra Vega, who's going to discuss business office etiquette with us. And since we're getting close to the holiday shopping season, we thought it would be kind of fun to have Lizandra join us from New York. And first of all, Lizandra, how did Hurricane Sandy treat you?
Not great, but thank you for having me on the show. I am still recovering from Sandy. She left a lot of debris everywhere and trees, but luckily I do have power, so I feel fortunate.
Great. So, Lizandra, I guess we're going to talk about a little bit about holiday gift etiquette in the office space. And so, what's the first thing I should do before I go running out and buying gifts either online or elsewhere for my coworkers, supervisors, and or subordinates?
Well, the first thing you should do is check with the human resources policy, because so many companies have policies against giving gifts. So you
What?
want to make sure that before you go out to buy a whole slew of gifts, that you check that out and make sure that it's okay to do so.
So I can't just buy the office a whole bunch of $25 Safeway cards to go out and buy turkeys?
Not a bad
Not
idea.
if Human Resources has a policy against it, because you can be fired.
I can imagine.
That's no fun. I mean, they take...
You're trying to do something nice, and it can really backfire because of just a lot of issues with bribery and all of that.
Oh, yeah.
So
In fact,
you may have great intentions. It may be looked upon as, you're buying something to get a favor back.
Lizandra, that's a good point. I have a building where this is many years ago, that I offered a nice little, gift for my tenant because he paid the rent on time, etc.
Right.
And he looked at me and he said, I can't accept this. And I said, really? Why? And he says, well, I do a lot of work for the government. And he says, we're not allowed to accept gifts.
Right.
Wow.
Of course, that was in the old